Hello and welcome to Remakes, Reboots and Revivals, everybody. Today we have a very, very special episode for you guys because it sweeps. No, it's not, but we are trying to give you guys some LGBTQIA plus content out there in honor of Pride Month, and this is part one of two. When part two will come out, we don't know because we're working on that one, but we do have a special treat for you guys when we do release it. But this is part one. And today we're going to be just talking about a lot of our favorite LGBTQIA characters that we have seen in a lot of remakes, reboots, and revivals. And as Nicole and I were going through this list, we were realizing, wow, there were a lot. Some who just got like a passing glance and others who had major roles. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that and what that says overall about Hollywood and what does that say about queer representation. So enjoy.
Yes.
I'm Rolando.
And I'm Nicole.
And this is Remakes, Reboots, and Revivals.
An original podcast
about unoriginality.
I think that this is actually a really needed episode because maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like maybe our audience forgets that we are members of the LGBTQ community because we don't always focus on it. Like we focus more so on the movies and like the remake and the original and stuff. But
Correct.
That was a driving force as to why we even started this podcast. So this is something that's really important to us, like representation matters and all that stuff.
It's true.
So, as two people who have been doing this for almost 3 years, right? In like 2 months, it's going to be 3 years. We just kind of wanted to take a look back on all 110 episodes that we've done and the 15% of those episodes that gave us LGBT representation.
Is that how the math checks out?
I feel like at 110 episodes and I only see like 20 things on our list here.
Yeah, all right. That sounds about right. You said the two of us, but you forget that we also have someone else on this journey with us for
and
the past
a very
3 years.
important member who's been with us since the beginning and who also can shed some light and representation and something very important to his heart as well, our producer, Eddie Z.
Hey, guys.
Oh, I'm so humble.
Yeah.
So humble.
I love it.
Thank you for letting me be part of this experience.
Yes, I think we've had a lot of fun. We've seen so many different representations of all members of the LGBTQIA family. And we just kind of wanted to talk about some of the ones that we've gone over and encourage you to re-listen to those episodes. And maybe, hopefully our interpretations of these representations will inspire you to look at things differently. Maybe you agree with us, maybe you don't. Who knows what's going to happen? Let's just, let's kick this off, right?
Let's kick this off. So actually, while we were going through this list, I guess I came up with like two categories that for sure we could focus on.
Let's do it.
I think the first category is the one where there wasn't explicitly said that they were gay, but all the signs point to that they were most likely gay.
Yes.
And I think we got a few of these that kind of lowers that number of actual queer representation down. But I think they're fair to point out and stuff. So with that said, with that being like the category, who comes to mind for you guys?
Immediately, who comes to mind is a representation of LeFou in the newest 2017 Beauty and the Beast.
Okay.
Because everyone who grew up in Beauty and the Beast and who was somewhat queer really knew that LeFou was in love with Gaston.
Right. I made that argument that a lot of gay men have had that crush on that straight alpha male. Mm-hmm. And the heartbreak it brings.
Yes. And Disney was like, okay, we'll give you at least 5 seconds that validate that for you.
5 seconds indeed.
So that's probably the first thing that comes to mind, but what comes to your guys' mind?
So for me, the one that comes to mind is Terminator.
Ah, yes. That was even the title of the episode.
Yeah, Les Bionic Love. And the reason that what comes to mind is because all signs are pointing to me that the new Terminator from that movie is in love with the woman that she's protecting. And what we're watching is a lesbian romance, and Hollywood just did not have the balls to pull that trigger. But as far as I was concerned, it was just like, this is a lesbian's love story. Like,
Absolutely.
This is probably the most queer. And then not to say, like, just like you have also a very, very butch, I'm going to say Ellen Ripley. What is her name? It's not Ellen Ripley. That's Aliens.
Yeah. Well, who are you?
Sarah Connor?
Sarah Connor. Thank
Yes,
you.
yes.
Come with me if you want to live.
Yeah. And she says it with such attitude, right? She's just like, come with me if you want to live, or don't. I don't care. Because basically that's how she delivers that line,
Yeah,
basically.
she does.
And she's so, but I love it. This, and then that's the other thing, right? That's the other fun part about this movie. You also have two women fighting over one woman.
Yes.
So yeah, this is, as far as I was concerned, this was a lesbian movie.
Yes. So the new Terminator was Mackenzie Davis, and I think all my girls will know exactly who that is. She was also in Happiest Season. And
Was she in Happiest Season?
Yeah, she was Kristen Stewart's girlfriend.
Oh, I know her from. Ooh, what was that? From
Black Mirror.
Black Mirror. That's
Yeah.
where I know her from.
Yeah.
Where she also played a lesbian, and that was a beautiful lesbian love story.
She's getting typecasted, but I mean, she's given us what we need. And but I will say that the fact that they went there, right, where it was this Terminator who is not only. She's just so devoted to protecting this girl, Danny, because of her role in the future. And it is incredibly romantic, and yet they wouldn't just like validate that for us. It is almost like they were like dangling something on a string over us. And if you listen to that episode too, I was very upset about that.
So I think now in retrospect, hearing about how Hollywood has been caving in to China's culture, right? And like how they've been going out of their way to make sure not to offend any Chinese, because if the government censors your movie, then your box office is going to dip. I have a feeling now, in retrospect, that that's what happened. Like I think it was supposed to be a full-on lesbian love story, but they edited it down because they wanted it to perform well in China.
Oh, okay.
That's my suspicion at the moment. And that is something that I'm only learning about now because we have seen how Hollywood has been tampering with their films and their creatives and holding like John Cena hostage to make sure that we can make that quick buck from China. Yeah. So that's my theory at the moment.
That's a pretty good theory, actually.
Thank you.
I never thought of it like that, and now that you say it, maybe. But at the same time, it just really pisses me off because then I just think about how not everyone's in that frame of mind around the world, and it's just upsetting, is all. But these are two really good examples, and in both episodes of these, Beauty and the Beast and Terminator, you can hear us discuss it on length.
Yes, we're gonna add the links to the show notes so that way you can just like, hey, I'm interested in that episode. Check it out.
Exactly. You don't have to scroll. Just click on it in our show notes.
Just click on it.
Is there anything else?
It'll be right there.
What about you? Do you think of one, Eddie, in that kind of category?
Yeah, like they were, or not lesbians, but I think in this both examples they've been lesbians.
No. LeFou was,
Oh, LeFou's gay. That's right. I'm sorry. I was thinking, okay, anything that comes to mind for you, Eddie?
Well, the coming out story of the character Elena Alvarez in One Day at a Time.
Well, that is an actual coming out story. So we're talking, the category is characters that are gay, but like they never say that they're gay, right? So they're like kind of coded almost. Mm-hmm. So nothing else come to mind? No? Okay. So then, so those two. I think those are like two big examples.
Those are two big examples.
The only other one that does come to mind for me is from Ocean's 8.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay, that's a good
that
one.
They were lesbians, and I forgot about that.
So no, they weren't lesbians. I think they were bisexual women. And they're members of our community. Let's not forget about them. And that they had some sort of... It was more than just like Danny Ocean and Rusty from like the original, like the Brad Pitt and George Clooney dynamic. Like these two seemed like they had real love for each other, and that, they might have experimented with their tongues before. And I just wanted to actually, one, I wanted to know that. But two, like, I mean, well, one, I wanted to see it, but at least if I didn't have to see it, like, just validate that for me, because the two of them would just make the hottest fucking couple. And like, also bisexuality representation totally matters. So,
and it's so rare, right? Like,
it is so rare.
You never get that.
So, it's so funny because there's a show that's going to be rebooted soon called Sex and the City. And that show is famous for bashing on bisexuals.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. It's just like, you gotta make a choice. It's like you get like bisexuals, isn't that like halfway to Ricky Martin town or something? Like really late 90s mentality that is not aged that show well.
I mean, I don't know. Bisexuality is a hard thing for, I feel like, gay, lesbian, and straight people to wrap their heads around, right? Because it just feels... I don't know.
I don't know. Don't speak for me in that sense.
I'm not, okay. I feel like, generally speaking, the reason it's such a hot topic issue, like the reason we're so insensitive to it is because it's so distrusting. I feel like when... I think the main thought here is just like, if you are bisexual, that just doubles your playing field. And it's just like, how can I be sure that you'll be faithful? Or how me as an opposite sex can, well, or even the same sex, can I provide like what you're looking for in the opposite sex or same sex? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where the confusion lies. And it's just like, but bisexuality, you're right, is just generally speaking very underrepresented.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Bisexuality comes in all different types of shades and whatnot. And so I think a lot of people at the end of the day, maybe we're just simple-minded and we need things to be kind of black and white. You know, we live in a two-party system. True. We can't think of a third party ever. You know, it's like we can't think outside of our own boxes. So it's a shame.
Right.
And there's pansexuality and there's other people that, you know, we're not even talking about that aren't even represented in the LGBTQIA, you know, like those alphabet numbers, right? Letters right there. Well, so I just want to give the bisexuals the love that they deserve. But I also want to just mention one more. And one of my actual favorite episodes where we covered Stephen King's It with the Tim Curry one and then the 2-part one. And that in the second one, right, it's pretty much implied that the kid who grows up to be Bill Hader has repressed homosexuality. And they do it in one scene.
Him.
Yeah, they mention it in one scene, and that's it.
That is it.
He doesn't even like come to terms with it, and he doesn't talk about it. He just ignores it, and it's not even like the clown like does that much more about it.
Well, if anything, the clown is a bully because I feel like in 2020, is that what we should be targeting our hostilities toward? Like the closeted kid? Like we can make fun of other things for Bill Hader, right? Like he is lanky. He had a bad haircut in that movie. Hell, his glasses. But no, you choose to go for his sexuality that he's in the closet. Well, so shame on you, clown. Shame on you.
Yeah,
Pennywise.
I would say so. But at the end of the day, he's also capitalizing on their fears, which I guess the character is afraid of being gay. But again, they just didn't expand upon it. And I was just sitting I remember sitting in that theater and I was like, come on. Like, give me more other than like this hint. And that's it.
Yeah. He was in love with one of the kids and the kid died or the man died and stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's when he got his closure, but it wasn't enough closure because
it wasn't.
It was never said explicitly, I am a homosexual or bisexual even, we don't know. Or I am in love with this man, you know? So yeah, you're right. Missed opportunity on that one.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the clown though on the balloon. I know your secret, your dirty, dirty secret.
Yeah.
It's not even that dirty.
It's not.
You know, it's just like,
being gay is not dirty. So.
I know, like a good, like you want to know what a hot secret would have been, or a good secret to know. It's just like, I know your secret, your dirty, dirty secret, and it's that he's been like in bathhouses and stuff.
Yeah,
and like that's what he's hiding. It's not that he's gay. It's just like, wow, he's a sexual deviant hanging out in bathhouses.
That's not deviant.
Well, it also began with the murder of gay men who
oh my god, that's right, I forgot about that. That was also a horrible scene.
That was horrible. Yeah, and like the fact that he also died like that and he watched his poor lover who just got beaten and thrown over a fucking bridge, then devoured by this weird evil clown. Trauma to the max. But like, so it's interesting how they went there in terms of, like hard to see but necessary depiction. And yet,
is it a necessary depiction though?
Dude, that happens. That has happened many times to members of the community.
Yeah, but like, is a movie about a clown hiding in the sewers really the movie that should be showing that?
So,
I don't know.
Of course, I mean, should it? No, but at the same time, this movie was all about disturbing the shit out of people. I mean, remember that scene about the girl, under the bleachers? And I just was like, that devastated me personally. It's like, it wants you to have those strong emotions. It almost wants you to love these characters so much. Like the people that you only meet that are literally just there to die. They want you to love them and sympathize with them, and then when they take it away, it hurts you more.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah. I will defend Andy Muschietti, or however you say his name, and like that, where he did that really well. Like, he introduced us these characters. The first kid in the first one, you know, who we only meet the brother for 5 minutes, but we feel his death so deeply. So
Georgie.
Yeah, Georgie. Yeah.
Georgie. Yeah.
But okay, so moving on. You know, so it's interesting because we could almost make a category about characters turned gay or turned LGBTQ.
You don't turn. Oh, you mean like Hollywood turned them gay?
Yeah, like,
or do you mean like
in their original property they weren't, and in the remake, reboot, or the revival they were.
I thought you meant like a character who has decided I am gay now. He's like, well, they were gay, but
no.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
I was like, Nicole, I expected better from you.
No.
Okay, yeah, that's a good category. All right, fine. All right, that's another category that I didn't even think about it, but you're right.
Yeah,
characters. Yeah, characters that were straight or at least straight presenting in the original, and now are on the LGBTQIA plus spectrum. So, Nicole, you're the one who came up with the category. Who comes to mind for you on that one?
First one that comes to mind is Dracula, right? This traditionally straight character, you know, who's known for, I mean, when it was Bela Lugosi doing it, you know, he was known to be the Hungarian stud, you know, and he, like, you know, in 1931, he was a sex symbol. All the women wanted him, and that was like the definition of what it was to be like a sexy, you know, quote, foreign, end quote, man. And so to
Bela
take
Lugosi?
it, yeah, he was huge back in the day.
Okay.
And so to take that, right, and completely flip that character over, and like think about the other versions we got, you know, like Christopher Lee, and it's always like sucking blood out, and like with the women, like with Mina and the other one, especially in the Francis Ford Coppola one, which was so sexual with Winona Ryder and the other girls, and make him now pretty much a pansexual character who just look like it's not just women, it's everybody. And
it's everyone and anyone. He doesn't care. Any
blood vessel, pretty much. And that to me is also really interesting because that makes the most sense in terms of Dracula, right? Like that was probably, maybe that's what Bram Stoker intended. Who fucking knows? I never read Dracula. Rolando, can you shed some light? Do you think Bram Stoker intended that?
No.
No?
I don't think he ever implied that Dracula was pansexual. But it was, Dracula itself was kind of critiquing the modern norms of women at the time. They were, you know, I think they were losing their Victorian edges and stuff, and they were going into like what he felt was whoredom, and that's what he thought vampirism was. Right, so that's why the vampires are like much more animalistic and much more hedonistic and stuff, and that's where you get that scene of like his brides and stuff. I don't think they were called his brides in the novel, but the ones who seduce Jonathan.
Yes, Mina.
And yeah,
I think so.
No,
wait, the other one,
Jonathan, the guy who Jonathan is Mina's,
fiance.
I guess estranged spouse. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You're talking about the other girl.
Yeah. He's the one. Yeah, he's the one who. So in the Dracula TV show, he's the first one, the victim, the one where the nun is just like, "Did you have sexual intercourse with Dracula?"
Yes.
That's Jonathan.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who goes into Transylvania to get the paperwork signed.
Oh, okay.
Keanu Reeves' character.
Yeah, I know who Jonathan Harker is.
Yes, thank you, Harker. That's him. Yeah, so where was I going with this? Oh, the point is that, yes, I don't remember Bram Stoker implying that Dracula was pansexual, but also if that was something, maybe we missed it in our readings because it wasn't like something that was being taught to high school kids. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So, yeah, but it was I remember this Dracula. This was a very, very enjoyable Dracula, if only for that. Oh, for other reasons too.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who actually didn't like it and who thought it was almost like it was too different. And I guess maybe that's what we liked about it, but I enjoyed it.
I mean, sometimes, I'm always here for when people want to mix things up and shake it up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, me too. So I don't know.
Yeah.
How did you feel about Dracula, guys? Let us know your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But what about you? What comes to mind for you in terms of a character that they turned gay?
Well, the first one that comes to mind is the Yellow Ranger in Power Rangers, Trini. She was, although that was also another one where she never came out and said it, but she was kind of like, she basically did, right? She didn't like officially say, I'm a lesbian. She said more so, I'm different and my parents don't approve of this.
Yeah.
And we have to read between the lines on that one. I guess that's okay, but, you know, again, another one where Hollywood was kind of just like, let's not offend, you know, people here.
Yeah, I think it's also, I mean, she was clearly just not the focus of the film. The main characters were the Pink Ranger, the Red Ranger, and the Blue Ranger.
And the Blue Ranger, yes, you're right. He had a pretty big role.
Yeah, and so there was that love story between the pink and the red, and then like the red being a leader and the blue one being the brains, and then the other ones who were pretty much, you know, the different, like I think the Yellow Ranger was a Hispanic woman, and that the last Ranger, I forget what color was it? Was it green?
He was black.
He was a Black Ranger? He was...
Black Ranger, yeah.
Oh, he was the Asian man, right?
Yeah, Zach.
Yeah, so then, you know, all the other representations just got put into... those ones who were the big characters.
Right. It's just like, of course. Yeah, that's what happens.
Which happens. Yeah, it always happens with Hollywood. So I even forgot about it. Yeah. I mean, it just, for me, it wasn't very memorable. I didn't feel...
She just had a little bit of a coming out scene and stuff. That was it. Or at least opening up to the friends. That's it. But, you know, she wasn't one of the main characters.
Yeah,
Despite the fact that she is one of the Power Rangers, I guess, you know?
Power Rangers are the main characters, but I guess you could only really have one.
Well, yeah, you can only focus on one.
Yeah,
at the time, you know.
I actually do want to hear this one from Eddie because I feel like he definitely has a character turned LGBTQ that he might want to discuss. I mean, do you?
What was it? It's Sherry from Punky Brewster.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Charmed. I swore you were going to say Charmed, but yeah, Sherry from Punky Brewster.
Charmed did have a... Sherry from Punky Brewster is...
That's right.
That's fair. And that's true.
She did, yeah. She grew up and
And
which I still stand by. I still think it should have been Punky who was bisexual. I stand by that.
The only reason I don't say charm is because they're not the exact characters from the original show.
This is true.
Good point. Good
You know,
point.
so it's not like it's a remake. Of like another Prue or Piper or Phoebe.
Yeah.
You know,
That makes sense. My gosh, is this another category? I swear.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Now, question, Eddie. What about 7 of 9s? She was never like straight up lesbian in the original run, was she?
So it's interesting because it's later on as Voyager wraps up when they begin to explore like 7 of 9 and sexuality and intimacy. Mm-hmm. She begins a relationship with the Commander Chakotay towards the end of Voyager, and then when we pick up in Picard, it seems that relationship didn't flourish any further, and she is exploring another relationship with a member of Picard's crew.
Prior to that, though,
which was like a minute, like it's like the holding hands, and it's like, wait a minute, what did we miss on that?
Right. No, for sure. I remember that because I remember screaming. It's just I remember pausing, just like, wait, what? They're lesbians now? But I forgot though that they kind of may have hinted that she was lesbian in one of the earlier episodes when she's about to kill that one other character.
Yes,
because that seemed like it seemed so personal. So
yeah, that was like seriously intense, like a betrayal of a whole nother level.
Right.
Like, you know, because supposedly they were like friends, but it was implemented like, I trusted you, like with my secrets, you know, it's like, and you betrayed me. And so this betrayal like really fired her, you know, fire the moment of her, like, I need to execute you. I need to get rid of you.
Right.
You know, and she ends up killing her.
Never heard scorned.
Spoilers, guys. Yeah.
Scorned lesbian, I guess. Right? It's like, I don't know.
Really quick, I also want to actually talk about the new Arrested Development because they actually turned one of their famous characters who was previously a womanizer and made him have a real romantic relationship with a man. And spoiler.
Yes.
It's
Buster.
Job Bluth. No, Job.
Oh, no, I know. I know it's Job.
He fell in love with Tony Wonder. You know,
Yeah,
his
how-
long rival who he was just in awe of.
Right.
They fell in love, yeah. And every time they
Of course
saw
it
each
started off-
other. Yeah, go for it.
I was thinking more how it started off, which was just a drug-fueled night.
Yes, yeah. And then they were like, oh my
know?
God, wait a minute. I love that, you know, it takes that kind of a night for them to actually let their inhibitions go and down and to be with each other. And then they're in love, or at least Job is. And every time they see
bet
each
you-
other drive by the cars plays, and it's like so romantic. I love it.
I bet you there was a lot of going on that night.
Oh, hell.
Blammo. Pride. Sex jokes. What up, people?
But it was so interesting because if you love Arrested Development, right, that's like a cult following. A lot of people do. And everybody knows Job and everybody knows his relationship with women. So for them to go there, I just thought it was really interesting too, because, you know, Job was also presenting a very particular view of masculinity, right? If Buster was anti-masculinity and like the way he was, which is so dependent on his mother and just weak and all this stuff, there was also Job who was like, you know, like almost toxic masculinity in the sense where he took it too seriously. So for them to choose that character and to make him the one who is experimenting and, you know, coming to terms with his own feelings and getting involved with the gay mafia, which I thought was hilarious. I enjoyed that. So.
Now, I don't think... So, would he count as bisexual?
I would say he would be bisexual, yeah. I mean,
Right?
They were implying that Job was finding out he was gay, but I would more accurately say he was probably bisexual.
Yeah, because, you know, we've seen him womanize and stuff, and that wasn't like he was fake. We have no reason to believe that he was faking it for anything.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
Well,
yeah,
I mean-
or pansexual, maybe. He just fell in love with Tony Wonder
Maybe.
through a night of hardcore sex,
Yeah.
drug-fueled sex, you know? That's all it takes, guys, apparently.
It's one night,
So,
absolutely.
one night. Oh, man, we're going to get in trouble, I feel like, with this
Maybe.
episode. But
Is there
right, let's
anything
take
else, or should we talk about brand new characters that were introduced?
I'm trying to... All right, let me look over the list of other characters who...
Oh, yeah.
didn't...
We're going through a list, guys.
I'm just going through a list real quick. Actually, no, I think we covered off on the good ones. We put Sabrina the Teenage Witch, everyone, but like I feel like a lot of those characters may have been originals. Like they weren't from the original run.
I see. I didn't watch enough of the show to know whether or not Sabrina herself was like bisexual or not.
I think Sabrina is pansexual, right? Eddie, you can clarify. You've seen the show more so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think she's pansexual. I mean, she only has one relationship, sexual relationship, and that's with her boyfriend.
Okay,
Really?
but aren't all which Ambroses? I'm thinking, right? Because they're supposed to all be sexually fluid.
There is this openness idea among the community, and some people express it and some people don't.
I remember the major character Aunt Zelda has a lesbian relationship
She
in
did
the
have
show.
yes.
Oh, okay. I stopped
Yeah.
watching it after we covered it, so I wouldn't know what happened.
Oh, you missed out on her. She was with a voodoo goddess.
but- Ooh, was she that awesome character who came from the depths of hell? Like early in the series, and
No, I don't think she showed up until season 2 or
Oh,
3,
okay.
actually.
All right,
this
then.
character, so I don't think it's her.
never mind. All right,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
next category, brand new characters.
straight up
we forgot
brand new.
one. We forgot one.
Who? Betty from Rugrats?
Betty from Rugrats that we just covered
Betty
in
from
last week.
We just covered that
episode.
last week, yeah.
Yeah, so
Kids,
it's too
every-
fresh.
It's so fresh. It's everyone knows that we have opinions on it. I'm happy for her.
Yeah.
Go, Betty. You're a strong, independent woman who owns a coffee shop.
Yeah, I mean, so in last week's episode, I discussed that, you know, part of me is like, okay, you know, a girl who likes to dress in like sweatpants and is more sporty and isn't dominant in the relationship doesn't always entail lesbian, right? Lesbians come in different shades and colors, and like everyone
Right.
just guessed it growing up. So Nickelodeon or Paramount Plus was like, all right, she's gay. Here you go.
Yeah, they just made her lesbian. I'm so hoping that Howard will make an appearance.
Yeah, that would be cute. Maybe she'll be bisexual. That would be cute.
No, I want Howard. My hope is that Howard is a sperm donor right? But he is either, and I want him to either be gay and like he wants to be kind of involved in the child's life, or just a straight up sperm donor who was there for Betty.
Yeah, we'll see. Did they release any more episodes since we released our episode?
Good question. There's supposed to be 10 episodes for the first season.
Okay.
So I have to assume yes. I haven't continued watching it just because I've been busy, guys. Thank you for asking. Not that you.
And we went on with our lives, so we wouldn't know.
We do.
But yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be like something I'll watch in the background and see.
It's
like,
good
okay,
background for sure. Yeah. Well, Paramount. I had Paramount Plus for one more day. I rewatched a couple more Rugrats. So of the original.
Look at that. You see.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not the new one. Okay, so moving on to our third category. When there is a remake, reboot, and revival, sometimes they'll just take the property and they'll introduce brand new characters. And with the brand new characters, we have been introduced in a lot of these properties to LGBTQIA members. So, any of you have any that you're like immediately, bam, this is one of my favorites?
Okay, so one of the first ones that came to mind, actually, when we came up with this category, was that trans kid from
Babysitter's Club. Yeah,
Babysitter's Club, right? And now, he, right? He presents as a he. No, she. He. It's a male character who is identifying as a female character.
Yes,
and so she is only there for one episode. She is one of the Babysitters Club's clients, I guess you would call
one
it.
of the kids they babysit.
Yeah, one of the kids they babysit, and she has a little bit of a medical issue, and they take her to the hospital, and it forces one of the babysitters to actually speak up to the doctors and make sure that they acknowledge her by her proper pronoun. And I thought it was just such a beautiful, like, well-written scene. And I just remember tearing up when I saw it because it was just so, like, it was just so powerful for a kid's show.
Absolutely.
And granted,
Me
again,
too.
I don't remember this character's name, but that's not what's important. What was important there was the actual message. And I think that message really just transcends overall that show for it. And mind you, it's like one of the episodes. That was such a good show, right? Like, but that's one of the standout moments for me from that show.
That I absolutely agree. I remember, and I say this in the episode, that when I saw that, I was taken aback, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was just so happy to see that. And I think it worked well. I didn't feel like it was just there to pander or anything. I thought it was really organic and really lovely, actually. So I would agree with you on that.
Yeah, in terms of the organic part, like they really weave that into the main storyline, which is this girl getting the confidence to actually speak up to adults or to others, right?
Yeah.
That was the major storyline. And it takes this one character feeling very upset that the doctors are not using the proper pronouns to her, that she decides, I'm going to step in here. Doctors, please, like, you guys are upsetting her. Please use the proper pronouns. And, like, it's called growth. People look it up, and that's what she did.
Yes.
But it's such a good episode, So that's like instantly one of the, again, and I'm sorry I don't remember the character's name, but that's not what was important there. Like, this is clearly the messaging here is what was the most important part.
Absolutely.
And then, but if I had to really go into like my favorite original gay or lesbian characters, it would probably be Danny and Jamie from Bly Manor.
All of us were taken aback by that story, man.
Well, yeah. I mean, you go in for the horror, you stay for the tears.
For the lesbian love story,
lesbian tears is what I came out with. You know what I mean? That was such a good season. And I think the budding relationship between Danny and Jamie was so sweet.
Yeah.
And I know we had disagreements on like whether it should have been a tragedy, but I actually appreciated the tragedy here because it felt like such a fairy tale thing for me. It felt like such a very macabre Disney-esque story.
Yeah.
And it's about how true love conquers all. And it's this lesbian true love that conquered the spell, which is like, I think it was just beautiful in its own weird way. So that was easily, if I had to go, and there's a list of like good characters that were introduced, but that had to be, without a doubt, my favorite one.
Absolutely. I would agree that's up there. My one complaint would be that every time I see a lesbian love story, it ends in death. It's like, can we get a happy ending for once, please? And, you know, it's funny, too, because there's a film that came out in 2015, just to harp on the fact that lesbians always end in, you know, love stories end in death. Carol from 2015 was a film that had a happy ending for lesbians, and it got completely shunned by the Oscars. So a lot of them think that the reason why is because it wasn't tragic, because people only love gay stories that are tragic. So very interesting point of view.
Okay, that's a fair point of view. I wonder. I'm trying to think.
It also gives like this bad message when you do that only in death can this romance be redeemed.
Yes. Same thing with Brokeback Mountain, but they didn't get the Oscar either.
It got Best Direction.
Yeah, I guess that was enough. Yeah, the straight director got his award.
Ang Lee. No, so I guess
Lee.
the reason, I know that we were talking about, I know this is it. Like you mentioned again, they don't get a happy ending. And yet they made themselves, the characters may not get the happy ending, but the story overall does have that happy ending even though it ends in tragedy, it's still a happy ending because the spell is ultimately broken. And I think that's what I loved about it. It's like, it's again, fairy tale-ish. And if you know, granted, it's like, it's tragic, but like it is. I thought it was a beautiful fairy tale at the end of the day, and I that's what I appreciated most about it. And I remember being so sad by how it was going to end, and you could see like those last 5 minutes. You see, it's just like, oh my god, is she really going to die? There has to be something that comes in to save the day, right? And there isn't, and you're just hit. It's like a gut wrenching moment, and yet it's also it was just so beautiful that I was just like here for it. Absolutely. I love that fucking show. That show was so fucking good.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I would highly recommend it. Even if you don't like horror, it's worth it. It's totally worth it. So for me, the big one, and I think one of the, if we were to ever do like our top 10 episodes of this podcast ever, I think this would make the top 10. We just constantly refer back to it. And I do think it was one of the better representations of a show that was revived or rebooted and done just really well. And for me, that's One Day at a Time. But I'm partial because I very much saw my life in that. You know, they revived One Day at a Time, and they made it like a Cuban family, you know, with who had a single mother, you know, which essentially my mother was a single mother, you know, grandmother living with them, and the young girl identifying as a lesbian. That's my life, Elena. Guys. Okay. So the fact that I was able to, one of the only times I ever saw anything that I could relate to in media representation, and just done so well, you know, like people I think have a wrong idea of what One Day at a Time might be. And, you know, I think a lot of people aren't, you know, sitcoms are just kind of like thought of a certain kind of way. And this, or like situational comedies in front of a live studio audience. With the multicam setup, that kind of a sitcom, because we had this whole argument on this episode as well.
Yes, but, I know. You were about to like get me all riled up. I was just like, but thank you. Yeah, the multi-camera sitcom.
Yes, you know, that's something that is an old form of a sitcom that people don't enjoy as much anymore. And I think that maybe that gave people a wrong impression of One Day at a Time or whatever. And I just can't emphasize how enjoyable that show is, how touching that show is, and how it really hits on all the right moments. I mean, her quinceañera, and that moment that she has with her abuelita is just so well done and so beautiful, and such an important thing that, like, even as simple as what you want to wear, you know, there's something to say about that. And they did a whole episode about that, and it's a great show, and I love it.
I mean, for me, the whole story arc with her there was not just coming out, but it was also the acceptance of her family. Yep. Right. And
for who she was.
I think. Yeah, but I think the other thing they handled actually very beautifully on the show. The show is unfortunately canceled, guys. So there is no more One Day at a Time coming back, and shame on all of you guys for not watching. But hopefully our listeners did. But that message goes out to the people who just were not watching it. But I think the storyline that I love there the most, that might have been the most captivating, might have been her father's initial rejection of it, and then the eventual coming around. I think that felt very true to life, right? Because it's not always peaches and cream when you come out, right? Like, it is hard. Sometimes your parents aren't as accepting as you want to be at first. And my mom, had trouble with it at first. And then we thought she was okay. She was okay with it. And then came my wedding. And it's just another slap, not slap in the face, but realization for her. They're just like, oh my God, this is really happening. You're really gay. I forgot. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
this is how it's a process for people. So, and I think that show did such a great job of illustrating that. That's easily one of my favorite LGBTQIA representations. So far, 2 lesbians. Eddie, do you have any gay original characters that were introduced in any of these remakes or reboots that you know of?
Or if you have lesbians, that's cool too.
I guess, lesbians are winning this one. That's
the title.
sweep.
I think a lot
lesbians
more.
are winning this one. I love it. Sorry.
Yeah. I feel like there's been a lot more of that. Yeah, like lesbian characters that we later discover or come out as gay lesbians.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking through our list, and the rest of them are mostly lesbians. So,
like we said, Charmed would qualify for this, and
Charmed would qualify for this. How did you feel about the Charmed lesbian character?
Yeah, I felt it was. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like I didn't think anything of it.
That's absolutely. Sometimes you want that, right?
Just that was great, and that she was like in this on and off relationship with the cop, with the detective, and and then she was very much into like women's rights and making sure women's agencies are protected. Kind of all that that the character was very a very feminist character that was being portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I didn't think much in the sense of this is a gay character. But I thought, oh, this is a very interesting character, and she has these like really hot gay scenes, and I'm like, good.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's only that comes to mind one gay male character that comes to mind that was a brand new addition to a show, and that would be Dane from Winx.
Yes.
Saga. Mm-hmm. I think that was what was the name of the show? A Winx Fate, a Winx story.
Fate, a Winx Saga. That was it. Yeah.
A Winx. Okay, yeah. Dane. But for me, if you remember that episode, I had problems with it because it was just like you did. Like, we're talking almost nothing happens with him. Like, this was a nothing burger of a character. And then the other character that also comes to mind was actually 2 weeks ago when we were talking about that gay character from Cruella, who I made the argument. It's just like, well, we don't know for a fact that he's gay. He's just non-binary. That doesn't mean that he is a homosexual.
Absolutely.
Right? So when we got into that one, I think that was a good conversation we had at the end of that episode. So
absolutely. Actually, go ahead and listen to the last 30 minutes or so. It's strictly just about that. Because, it's also, Disney said that they had their first openly gay character, and it was like, okay, I guess openly is the key word here because, LeFou, let's talk about Elsa, let's talk about some other characters in Disney movies. But, when we finally got it, it was someone who, we never saw them defined by their homosexuality in a way of we never saw their romantic relationship or them, actually living outside of being subservient to the Cruella character and whatnot. So it's like, okay, we got this, but did we? And,
And I would argue it's even more problematic just because he was just presenting as non-binary.
Yes, exactly.
That itself does not mean that you're gay. Mm-hmm. It just does it, right? So so at worst, it's just so you're telling me these stereotypes is what qualifies for a gay person, right? Because he was just fashionable and he was into fashion and stuff. That does not make him gay.
Yeah, it's so hard too, because one of the things that I said too was sometimes you could see a person and realize that you're like them. And I don't think that, at least for me, I have made a point that, my identity as being a lesbian, when I realized I was a lesbian, it wasn't like I immediately was like, oh yeah, no, I want to have sex with women. I just knew it was different, And that was when I was 10. And I think sometimes being gay is not all about your sexual orientation, but that is the big part of it, right? And if we don't see that represented, then yeah, you are just kind of, like you said, you're almost presenting a stereotype without presenting them as a fully rounded character. So,
yeah, which is and I'm not even trying to imply this character was not a stereotype. I actually enjoyed the character, right? Like, I'm not calling that character a stereotype. I'm saying that, like, without him actually explicitly saying or having like a homosexual romance, and me not knowing that, like, all now you're just doing is just saying, but he is the first gay character that you've had. All you're just doing is just like saying, it's just like, well, now these become stereotypes, because like otherwise, how else are we supposed to know that he is in fact a homosexual? So that's where that. So yeah, it was a fascinating conversation we had at the end of Cruella. I urge you all to listen to it again. I know that was a popular episode, so
it was.
If you already listened,
good for you.
Good for you guys.
Maybe
but
re-listen.
if you haven't, check it out. Check it out. It is. I think it was a good conversation to have towards the beginning of Pride.
It was definitely, which also helped inspire this episode. So.
For sure, I think so, and I think technically so did Betty, right, from Rugrats.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had two introductions of two LGBTQ characters that it ignited a conversation with us, which is actually why we want to continue this conversation in a part 2.
Yes.
And we're working on that for you guys. So before Pride is over, you will get another episode where we will go a little more in depth about Hollywood's right now newly found focus on like trying to introduce LGBTQ characters. You know, how successful is it, and how do we measure success, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So so stay tuned for that one, guys.
Are there any others that we want to just give a quick mention to, or just some of the properties that are fully, you know, these are LGBTQIA properties that have been that way from the original to the remake, and we're just happy that we're getting, you know, more.
Yes, Queer Eye comes to mind.
Queer Eye, for sure.
Right, Queer Eye.
The
more
new
than
Queer
a makeover.
Eye is really great.
It's so enjoyable.
It's definitely worth watching, and it's very emotional, you know. And a lot of times people just realize, you know, that at the end of the day, although representation matters, that things like that, when it comes to actually enjoying a human being for who they are, don't matter. So that's, you know, at the end of the day, we're all just people, and we all want the same things, and we all just want to be loved for who we are. So, yeah. One that comes to mind for me is, just because I'm so glad we got to do it, was the L Word, and there's going to be a season 2.
Is there going to be a season 2?
Yeah. You know, one of the only shows focused on a group of friends of lesbians and stuff, or at least one of the first. And that was actually a really fun episode, and your feelings towards Bet are one that I really appreciate.
Which one is Bet? Is she the one who dies?
No, that's Jenny. Bet is the one who runs for mayor in the new one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's super problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's also like, yeah, you know, just because we get these characters doesn't mean that they're like, you know, the lesbian saviors. So I like that.
I remember Shane. And then what was it? I tried to make a meme that we posted on social media, which is like, everyone wants to be a Shane, but in reality, we're all. I forgot the name of the. I think Alice. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, did you or were you going to?
No, I did. It was an Instagram story.
Oh, we should repost some of our old ones, actually.
Yeah, I'll try to track them down and post it.
Absolutely.
I thought that was a good one. Hopefully, maybe for Pride, it'll get like a little bit of traction now.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought it was funny. Like, if you're a lesbian who enjoys L Word, that's hilarious, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just like everyone wants to be a Shane, but in reality, we're all Atlas.
Absolutely. We also
and
covered
Will and Grace.
Will and Grace, yes.
Will and
that
Grace.
was big.
That was over though, but
yeah. But, you know, everybody knows Will and Grace and stuff. We did The Birdcage because a lot of people might not know, but the 1996 film The Birdcage was actually a remake of a 1978 French film, La Cage aux Folles. And even there was a musical based on La Cage aux Folles before they did The Birdcage, the movie. And, you know, I think it's about time that this is a movie remake that I want to see done. And actually, no, this would be the first time this would be a movie, is an adaptation of the Broadway musical La Cage aux Folles. That would be such a great fucking film to make, and musical wise. Because I don't think we need to remake The Birdcage. I quite like The Birdcage as it is, as problematic as it is. But I want to see the musical adaptation of La Cage aux Folles already on the screen. We're getting like 4 musicals this year with In the Heights, Dear Evan Hansen, West Side Story. Let's get La Cage aux Folles on the screen.
You know,
Rant
I
over.
don't want to see a dear Evan Hansen. Now this is just going to talk into Broadway, but
You don't want to see that?
Isn't Ben Platt too old to be playing a high school
Yeah,
kid?
he is a little old. He looks like he escaped from like a resting facility or something, and he's like masquerading as a high school student. But it's so interesting because first of all, that trailer is so depressing. But
I haven't seen the trailer even.
Watch the
I just saw
trailer.
I saw some pictures and I was just like, wow, this
Yeah,
you
he's
would assume
very
that they
old.
would have gone like
yeah, they had to give it to Ben Platt because he's a star. But like, so it's so interesting
they
because
didn't. Like,
wait, what?
there are others. They didn't have to give it to Ben Platt. Like there are others out there.
No, it's. I hope this doesn't go down the Rent thing where it's like we had to give it to Ben Platt, and then you watch the movie and it's like, oh, maybe you really didn't have to give it to the original.
Rent. Yeah.
But I just want to say this really quick. It's like a 3-minute trailer. I feel like I saw the fucking movie, and boy, is that like a intense trailer. It just like was really, really sad. So anyway, that should be an interesting film. And it's actually Eddie, the filmmaker of the Dear Evan Hansen movie, is the filmmaker for Perks of Being a Wallflower. And it's the author of Perks of Being a Wallflower. So I think it's going to have that kind of emotional impact to it. So
I haven't seen it. I'm more excited to see In the Heights. We haven't seen it yet only because Eddie and I are doing this is some insider information here, but Eddie and I are doing a little bit of a watch party, right? We invited some friends over, Nicole being one of them. So I told everyone, like, do not stream it. You will wait until our party on Friday.
Wait, I thought Nicole was the only one we invited.
What? Oh, no, there's other people.
Oh.
But I'm super excited to see that one. See, that's a good. Well, I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda would have been too old for that role. So
yeah, well, I'm sure he's in it somehow. So we'll see.
no, he is. He's Piragua Man.
Oh, Piragua. All right. Okay.
That's him.
Yeah. So does this mean
And then,
we're
of course,
done? Because we're just
It does.
talking
But
now about.
I was just gonna. Now we're talking about musicals, but I was just talking about like the big elephant in the room, which is just like, God, we still had to cover
West Side Story. Absolutely. And it's so
I'm
interesting
so
how
terrified.
2 movie musicals this year, and they're both focused on the Latin community, which, you know what? Fuck it, I'll take it. But it's.
Ooh, that sounds like another discussion we could have for October, which is Latin History Month.
Oh, that would be fantastic. You know, it's so interesting because as a person who. What were you going to say?
I was wondering if it was going to be released during Latin History Month.
December.
Oh.
Yeah, unfortunately. I was just
What
going
a
to say,
shame.
we also, you know, we're two people of the LGBTQIA community, but we're also Latinx. And
Yes.
it is so important to see that representation on screen. But at the same time, it was West Side Story the one to do it for? I don't know. I'm kind of, you know, I'm not feeling it so far. So tune in December and see how I feel after I've seen the movie. Because at least Rita
Yes.
Moreno's in it, you know, so.
She is involved in the movie. I'm also still a
She's
little.
not Anita.
I love. You know, I love Rita Moreno, so I'm so anything
worship her,
for
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
Hopefully, guys, everyone started writing campaigns. Start tweeting at her and have her be a guest on our podcast, please.
Ooh. Please, guys, come through for us.
If enough of us reach out to her, she will be forced to say, "Who? Okay, fine, I guess." Yeah. That is my hopes and dreams. Yeah, we're getting lost in the weeds here. So this is part 1 again of a 2-part special we're working on for you guys for Pride Month. This is our 3rd year, our 3rd Pride with the podcast, right?
Yeah, it is. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. So yeah, so I feel like now is as good a time as ever to have a nice in-depth conversation about queer representation in Hollywood,
Yeah, we've
specifically
done it for
obviously
long
remakes
enough,
and stuff.
so- Absolutely.
So we're excited to work on this for you guys.
Yeah. So definitely tune into part 2 and share your thoughts on part 1. You know, what did we miss? What are things that we did talk about that you kind of wanted to have a conversation with us about? You can reach out, and there's so many ways you can reach out. A great way to is email, remakes, reboots, revivals @gmail.com. You can hit us up on social media, Instagram @remakes, reboots, revivals, Twitter @remakes podcast, facebook.com/remakes, reboots, revivals. We also have a hotline that you can call and leave us a voicemail that we can respond to. And that number is, what is that number?
862-248-2326.
Perfect. And
That's
if you
right, guys.
enjoy this
Call.
podcast, you know, please tell anyone you can in any way you can. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts because those do help. And yeah, That's
That's
that.
it.
Yeah.
So enjoy your pride.
Yeah. Be
right?
proud. Get out there.
safely.
Yes. Be safe.
And
yes.
be sure to tune in for the part 2
Yes.
when that comes out later this month, and also whatever we cover next week. Who knows?
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely.
Surprise! Also,
Surprise to us too. We don't know yet. So.
yeah, we don't know either. We're just
That's great.
all right. Well, anyway, until next time, stay an original.